Hi, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Right Side Pride. That's Hector, the host. I'm Angela, the co-host. I'm in my backup studio today. Um, you see me a little more
I'm
comfortable, that's why.
I'm in my normal studio, also known as my home. So I want to hop right into it today. Obviously, big events happened last night with the bombing of the alleged nuclear sites, whatever you want to call them. Depending on which side of the aisle you're on, is going to determine kind of what they'll be called.
Right.
But a lot of back and forth on X today about kind of how it happened and how Trump didn't have congressional approval, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, can you clarify that for us? I know you've posted a very nice
You- I mean,
post on Facebook or one of them about other
honestly,
presidents. If you could
well,
clarify that whole
U.S. has,
congressional approval thing for us.
Congress hasn't declared war on anybody here in the United States since World War II. You look at um, Korea, uh, Lebanon, Vietnam, again in Lebanon, Grenada, uh, Panama, um, Gulf, both times. Now, we've never declared war since World War II. However, there have been other presidents who have used their constitutional authority to do that. And I have the list right here. Let's see. Going back, let's go back to LBJ, Lyndon Johnson. He didn't declare war, but dropped bombs on Vietnam and the Dominican Republic. Let's see, Nixon, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. Uh, Gerald Ford, nothing really big. Uh, Actually, Ford did in it was Cambodia. Jimmy Carter, nothing significant. Ronald Reagan, Libya and Grenada. George H.W. Bush, 41, did it in Iraq and Panama. Bill Clinton, Iraq, Serbia, Sudan, Afghanistan. Bush, 43, Afghanistan, Iraq. Barack Obama's got a longer list than the rest of them. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan. Uh, they've all those, that's a list. I mean, you can go online and verify it if you'd like.
And all those were not with congressional approval, correct?
No congressional
Just
approval, any of them.
unilaterally made the decision to
Yeah.
drop bombs. Didn't enter into a war, just drop bombs. Well, Bush kind of
Well,
entered into a war, but
not into a war, but drop bombs, shoot
right.
missiles,
Okay.
stuff like that. And Obama was
I
assassinating people too.
yes.
And I think that's throughout history we've all done that. Not us, but
I
president.
um I think both sides, Democrats and Republicans and probably some independents could all come together and agree that Iran with a nuclear weapon is probably not good for the world.
I
Would
would
you
think
agree?
so. I mean, it's common sense. Their stated goal is the destruction of
Of the
Jews,
West and
of Israel, of the West. We're the great Satan. So
Mhm. Today, I saw it in Times Square. There were protests, of course, Iranian flags out there, and people chanting "Hands off Iran."
yep, saw that. All that.
Um,
Where do they get their flags so quick?
I,
Like, is there like does Amazon deliver overnight flags overnight?
my question, and it's a legitimate question, and not, I'm not trying to be rhetorical or funny about it, but where is our patriotism gone?
They never had any.
We have though. I mean, our country, like, where's our country's patriotism gone?
Oh,
We've had
ours?
it. Yes,
We
ours.
still have it. The majority of Americans do. I have believed that my entire life, even in Vietnam. No matter what you hear on the news, uh, I think the majority of Americans have patriotism. Some And it may be different, take different shapes than what you and I think of patriotism. You know, some people think, oh, you do whatever the president says, and you just you STFU and toe the
Hmm.
line and agree. I don't see it that way. I if something I don't agree with whoever's president, I'll say I don't agree with that. Um,
So on that note, with agreeing with the president, I agree with Trump that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, should not have a nuclear weapon. It's not good for the region, and it's not good for the world, in all honesty, for Iran to have, access to a nuclear weapon. Um, that being said, and I think it is again a bipartisan, issue here that we should be able to agree on that they should not be allowed to have one. If you could, I'm gonna play a video here and just let me know your thoughts on
okay.
this. We'll play it through and then.
To the issue of Iran, yep. As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. I made that clear when I came into office. We then organized the strongest coalition and the strongest sanctions against Iran in history, and it is crippling their economy.
And this is the part of with Obama talking about we can't have and we shouldn't have, and they put their sanctions on, and they, you know, essentially what he said crippled Iran, crippled their economy.
Right. That's one way to do it without dropping a bomb on them.
Right. But then you have, Trump comes in and essentially the same thing was happening. He carried on those same sanctions and everything, and then you have Biden come in, and when Biden comes in, gives them essentially what, 16 billion, was it, like $16 billion?
Right.
Um, that.
Well, when Obama left office, the last I think 2 days he was in office,
Mhm.
he sent a pallet of cash, U.S. dollars,
Yes,
to Iran. So what was that all about?
and then Biden gave them more. I think it
Right.
was 16 billion
And
more of money.
right. And canceled the agreement that Trump had set up
Hmm.
with
Because Trump
no,
canceled the agreement that Biden or that
right.
that
Uh,
Obama had.
yeah. So essentially, there was some kind of agreement where Iran wasn't going to build a nuclear bomb, but they kept working on it, uh, and or gain nuclear function, I guess is the terminology. But they kept working on it, and then Obama gave them a pallet load of cash. Trump came in and said, "No, we're not doing that. You're just not going to do it. It's it's dead. It's what does everyone say today? Full stop.
Yeah.
It's dead." And
Did they
then
say that?
and then Joe Tato came in and said, "No, no, no. You guys can go ahead and keep working on it. Just don't though. We'll lift all the sanctions, but just don't work on it. And here's some money to say
I
to guarantee you don't work on it."
I,
And
I
then
wish.
Trump came in this time and said, "Look, I'm giving you 60 days to get back to the bargaining table."
Hmm.
And they laughed. They're like,
Yep.
"Whatever." And he said, "Okay, now you were given 60 days and unleash hell."
So, um, there on again on Meet the Press this morning, Marco Rubio was on there, and he didn't answer this the way I was hoping he would, but maybe he just didn't catch it. But she says, the president said he was going to give them 2 weeks to do XYZ or whatever, which isn't what he said. He said within 2 weeks. It could be 2 hours,
Exactly.
it could be a week, 6 days, you know, 23 hours, 59 seconds. Like, ball's in my court. Like, I decide, and that's essentially him being a leader, being
Right.
strong and then
Well, and it's
following
not
through with what he said he's going to do.
and it's not something that these people are used to. They're used to, oh, they said 2 weeks. Well, that doesn't mean anything. he's a man of his word. He said 2 weeks.
Don't you do it.
2 weeks.
Don't you do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
People of Iran and Hamas, don't. What about coming across?
It's like dealing with a child. If you just say don't, and they keep doing it, and you just keep saying don't with no consequences for
And then
it,
they count to 5.
they're going to keep doing it. Oh,
Right.
and then you get to 4, then it's 4, 4.5,
Yeah.
4 3/4.
Yeah.
4. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're still doing it. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to bust your ass, and you're not going to do it anymore.
Right. Well, and
So
they're not used to that, and the news media is complicit in that, and they keep pushing that. They've pushed that. Oh, why, why do people have to go back? Why can't the illegals stay here? Well, they're illegal. But no. Why? President Trump said you got 60 days to come to the bargaining table, and they don't. Okay, bye.
what would you say the difference is between what we just saw a second ago with Obama talking about, Iran will not have a nuke in my presidency, et cetera, between that and this?
Conditional surrender mean?
Well, you know what it means. Unconditional
Can you explain it for those who
very simple
don't?
words. Very simple. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. For 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. War is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust. That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I mean it more now than I ever meant it.
So how is that any different than what Obama said? Other than Obama's obviously more eloquent, speaking and whatnot.
I think it's the TDS that's spread. People despise President Trump because he's not a politician for whatever reason. Orange man bad. I think that's the biggest reason. Hillary Clinton said the same thing. Obama said the same thing. Trump said the same thing. But
did you just call Obama Reagan?
Yeah, that was a bad slip of the tongue.
Wash your mouth out with
He is
soap.
my president. I love that guy. Yeah, I mean, there's no difference in what they said. I mean, obviously the words used were not
Right.
the same. They're not Democrat.
The premise was the same.
Everything. But the premise was the same. The message was the same. Iran cannot have a nuke. This regime in Iran cannot have a nuke. And it would be so bad for the world. I mean, they're the number one exporter of terrorism in the world today. They bypassed North Korea and Syria. And so why? I just don't understand these people. Okay, now we have to. Everyone, I swear, I can't wait to see all the liberals change their Facebook profiles and Instagram and TikToks and all this to pictures of the Iranian flag.
Well, I mean, like I said, they've already started in Times Square with Hands Off Iran. They have their flags out there, all that stuff. I hope it doesn't get ugly. I hope, it remains peaceful here in the United States. I don't agree with their message, but they're in the United States. It's their right to go say whatever they want. They do have that right.
Absolutely.
Have at it. Anybody who approaches them, just speak your mind as well, but be
Or
peaceful
ignore
about
'em.
it. Or ignore them. But in terms of Iran, no, absolutely. I think we at this point, you got to stay on the gas
I agree.
and um, just be mindful of it, and they cannot have the capability of you know having a nuclear weapon. Sorry, I got distracted because my groceries are about to be delivered. Um,
To me, it's very reminiscent of when the 52 American hostages were stuck in Iran, well, for 444 days. Uh, Jimmy Carter was president, and he was milk toast. He was a shit president, and
second worst of ever.
second worst ever, absolutely. And they held him for 444 days. The day Ronald Reagan got inaugurated, guess what? They were released because he wasn't messing around. He already told them, if you don't release my people, you're going to end up being flat black and radioactive. You're just going to be a parking lot. So, yeah, you need
Parking
strong
lot
leaders
is a
to have it.
really good investment. Very low overhead.
Yeah.
On that note, I appreciate you hopping on here. I know there was a lot of events that happened last night. Still kind of moving parts and everything for what may happen in the next few days. So it's going to be an eventful few days, I think, for us anyway, to be able to have more conversations about things and kind of get those going. Hopefully, you're able to fix the snafu here that I created. So we're going to see how good our production team is.
I'm going to let
Um,
Rob handle it.
our production team has their work cut out for them. Our first video got stopped abruptly by fat fingers here trying to act like a producer. So hopefully it's fixable. If not, I think the second part of the video, the first part has some really good dialogue from us, but I think the second part is kind of what we really want to talk about with
Yeah.
the common speech between the two presidents and how the words they said obviously are different, but the message was the same, and that is Iran cannot and should not ever have a nuclear weapon.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we can wrap
Did
this
you watch
up.
the
We're
movie?
pushing.
Hang on.
What's that?
Did you watch the movie?
I didn't. My smoke detector was driving me crazy last night, and it's not a very long drive. The battery was going low, so it was just chirping at me. Um, to put this into perspective, it's probably about a 10 to 12 foot ceiling. I don't have a ladder,
You have a
so
hammer?
I put a tote, like one of my plastic totes that I carry, like that I move stuff in. I turned that upside down, put it on my computer desk, stood on the desk, on top. It was an OSHA violation, like
You say it's
crazy.
screaming, OSHA, help me.
So the only bad thing is I got to put it back up there.
Or
But
not.
we'll get it done. We'll get it done. But again, we'll be on a couple times this week. We should have some. Again, next weekend's going to be like I'm excited for Friday night and Saturday. It's going to be some good entertainment, good video, and so it should be a good week for our podcast. And definitely looking forward to hopping back on here and having
Yep.
conversations.
Yep. Me too. I think it's going to be interesting. Like President Trump said this week. We'll see what it holds. You know, we'll find, and we'll be back to talk about it, whatever happens or doesn't happen. So you can look forward to that. I know everybody does.
Or don't look forward to it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
regardless of what happens, the protesting, any of that stuff, if you come across them, just remember Angela's famous line,
Be good human.
her 4 words.
Be good human.
Yes, there you go. We'll see everybody a little bit later this week.
All right. Bye.
Your hosts today have been and still are Hector Barrera and Angela Tapia. Today's episode of Right Side Pride was produced by the ever strategic producer Roz. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Right Side Pride.